G'day traders, we're going to wrap up of Friday the 4th of May. So here we've got the daily chart up here. You can see, it's a massive sell-off, but it's continuing to sell off now. I'm actually doing this Sunday, and we've had the new week start, and they've had a massive bit of a gap down, and are still pushing down as we speak now. So definitely got some sellers around. But, even in hindsight, we can see there's been some massive sellers here. There was a lot of evidence coming that we're going to have a sell-off today. So basically, as I approach this day, I thought it was one of those days where we could get a one-directional move and see some big sellers. And that's because this major support resistance area we keep on talking about. So obviously, it was support back in these earlier days. It kept testing it. Then it eventually broke and pushed down through it quite easily. Then it acted as resistance. Again, testing. Then it broke up, and then this day when we broke up, it was all one directional day to the upside as well. Then it came down, tested, and then it's broken down through it. So on Thursday, it temporarily just broke down underneath the support level, and from that alone, I thought that was some evidence that there was going to be some sellers around. And then by the time we opened up Friday, we'll definitely had a red candle here, and it was sitting on the downside. But the good thing about it was we hadn't had all the sellers come in the pre-market, so there was still plenty of room for the market to push down. What you'll see is when a market breaks a fairly significant area, it doesn't have to be a swing high or swing low. You can see this area here is very significant. It's quite a solid support. As soon as the market's underneath it, it's going to keep on going. So that was the reason, believing that today there was going to be one of those days where it's pretty much all one direction. Those type of days, this type of day we can see here, they are rare. Most of the time we get multiple directional moves, 3, 4 moves even, which is great for day trading, and certainly the markets I prefer to trade. But occasionally you get this one directional days, and the thing about these days, often, I didn't see a lot of opportunities today, and often you look back over today and go, wow, there's a lot of missed opportunities, but that's not really the case. When it just keeps pushing and pushing like this, there's no real opportunity to get on a trade, and often these days are harder to trade than just the sideways days. So you can see here opening up, I guess it's best to go straight to the 1 minute chart really, and show you can see we just kept hitting lower power points. We never at any stage had any sort of retracement. This area here we can see we retraced quite heavily. If had got back to the power point there, would have been very interesting spot to take a power point from. It would have come back to around about where the market opened, then believe that the market really sell off there. So I think even in the live trading room we were looking at that too, but would have been a very interesting area to sell from. And then from there you can see we just kept on pushing lower and lower, and a few times it tried to retrace and never really got there. Eventually hit this yellow, and the yellow's turned the market right round on its head. It's come back, got the purple, and then continued. So again, we talk about this first retracement power point. When you've got a trend of 10 points or more, and as long as it's with the dailies, so now the dailies are on the downside, only basically changed as of really today or maybe Thursday. So certainly there's sellers around, so this is the type one where you can look for a sell. So that first retracement power point after 10 point trend is working about 70% of the time. So you can see this one actually is probably just about worked too well. It's bounced right off the power point there. So if you are looking at approaching these sort of power points and you've got a system around power points, what you're best off doing is, and David's spoken about it, is going in one tick earlier. So that way you guarantee a fill. Yeah, the downside is you don't get sliders. Obviously then you still only want a 5 tick stop out, so your stop out's going to be here rather than 1 tick higher. But what happens is every time it hits the power point, you're guaranteed a fill. So that way when you do go back over markets, every time that you would have got a fill. Otherwise, if you're entering right at the power point, you're looking and going, oh, maybe not would have got filled. So look at entering 1 tick earlier if you've got a specific power point strategy. Obviously if the power fades, it doesn't matter, because as soon as you hit that entry point, you're going to get filled just because of the type of order it is. So from there, we kept on pushing down. To show you on the 5 minute chart, here's that area where we got the purple power point. So we pushed down the predictive. Well, has just crossed up, then crossed down, with no major significance. Then again down here we've crossed up, crossed down. We just kept on pushing lower. So this is this area here, crossed up, crossed down, nearly got back to a power point here. But by this stage it's starting to get very extended. By the time we've had the first pullback, you just got to be, I guess, careful, because once it starts to really stretch out on one particular side. But if anything, as we talked about right at the beginning of the day, this is the type of day where you will get a continuation of just one movement. So from there we got through end of lunch, and then we started to get some holding formations. But in saying that, the sellers came back in. But let me show you. Here it is here. So this particular sell here. So this is a 5-minute sell, and this is the same area it came on the 1-minute chart. Not really interested in this, even though the one thing it did have going for it is there's a lot of sellers around. But if this was a market where in sideways areas, or even potentially where buyers could come back in, this would be the type of one you'd almost look to buy from, let alone sell. Because the thing about this is, it was retracing, okay, and on this chart here you can see it is held under a resistance area. But if you look at the other markets, especially the Russell, they were breaking up a lot higher. They'd easily broken through this resistance and looked like they're really starting to push up. The fact also, it's about the third retracement of the day, so it's due for a change in direction. So in saying that, this particular day, I certainly wouldn't be looking to buy at any stage, just because the sellers are in that frame of mind. But I certainly wouldn't have taken this trade just because it's of the other markets and the fact it's very extended. But in saying that, if this was a little bit more of a buyer's market, or a sideways market, an area where the market would have and very potentially actually headed back up from. But just pure and simple today was, there were a lot of sellers around. That's all there is to it, really. Same thing, same signal came up here, and there's the end of the day here. So both these signals, they tried to push up, but then the sellers just squashed them, and because that's the type of day it was. But this 5-minute signal as well, just not really interested in, because it was breaking higher and other marks were breaking higher as well. And then here's this gap down at the opening of the new week, and you can see we're pushing down, and even got down to as low as 13.44. So these sellers have certainly got momentum at the moment. But anyway, that's a wrap up for Friday, and I'll speak to you guys on Monday.